Vertigo, Alfred Hitchcock's masterpiece. Not much can be said that hasn't already been said about this symphony of sight and sound, but I couldn't help discussing this large part of Vertigo's influence. I do recommend that you read up on German Expressionism as a whole before starting this video, but don't fear if you haven't, because I will be explaining the terms that I'm using throughout the video. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy. Before we discuss colour in Vertigo, I felt it necessary to touch upon the history and the inspiration to some of Vertigo's finest aspects. According to this link that should be on screen now, Hitchcock, while working at a German studio known as UFA, experienced first-hand the production style and experimental methods of German Expressionism. Inspired by great expressionists like F.W. Murnau and Fritz Lang, Hitchcock used the unusual and strange cinematography, mise-en-scene and editing tricks in most of his films, sometimes even evolving outdated aspects, which is the main focus of this video. In this segment, I'm going to look at a German Expressionist film called The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, and compare it to Vertigo to highlight their similarities and make Hitchcock's use of German Expressionist characteristics more apparent. Notice how the film is completely black and white. This can be seen as a result of limitations at the time or of an artistic choice. The blacks and whites beautifully contrast each other in both costume and set design, but I'll focus on just costume for now. In the story, a hypnotist uses a sleepwalker, or somnambulist, sorry if I mispronounced that, to perform a string of murders. During a famous scene where you see the sleepwalker kidnap a woman, you can see his black nightmarish costume contrast with the woman's white dreamlike bed. The man who intends to kill the woman represents impurity or evil, and the girl represents the opposite, purity or perfection. Now, what does an old German Expressionist film from the 20s got to do with an Alfred Hitchcock film? Well, think about it. Both films use complementary or opposite colours to suggest certain themes to the viewer, and foreshadow scenes to come. In Dr. Caligari, the blacks and whites suggest a battle between good and evil. Now look at Vertigo. The link may not be obvious at first, so allow me to explain. In Vertigo, the colours red and green are extremely important. Notice how they are opposite, complementary, as they represent two themes that centre around Scotty and Madeline's relationship. Red represents love or romance, and green represents fantasy or deception. The reason I believe this is simple. Scotty and Madeline's relationship is pure fantasy, as Madeline embodies the perfect woman, an archetype Scotty has become obsessed with. Madeline's famous coat that she wears at multiple points in the movie is a specific shade of green. Therefore, any moment in this film that uses this colour must be linked to Madeline, who is linked to fantasy. As far as red goes, it is seen multiple times throughout the movie, and is commonly seen on Scotty's costume when he stalks Madeline, and an almost hypnotising shade in Ernie's, showing Scotty's obsession with Madeline. Allow me to put this into the context of the scene. After Madeline attempts suicide, Scotty takes her back to his apartment. After she wakes up, Scotty gives her a red gown, representing Scotty's obsession with Madeline. Also note how Scotty wears a green sweater, representing how his deepest fantasies have seemingly come to life, in the figure of Madeline. Before I end the video, let's look at another scene that links with this one. A decent way into the movie, Midge invites Scotty over to her apartment, fearing he may be seeing another woman. Note how in this scene, both characters have a red motif on them. I'll focus on Midge's costume first. She's wearing a completely red shirt, representing how she wants Scotty's obsession to be her, and she's making it painfully obvious through the painting. Next, Scotty's costume is a completely black suit with a red polka dot tie, which is eerily similar to the gown seen on Madeline in the previous scene, representing how Scotty is constantly thinking about Madeline, his obsession. In conclusion, Alfred Hitchcock borrowed a lot from German Expressionism, which ended up working in his favour. The exceptional colour use in this film makes it not only more complex and fun for a film student, like myself, to deconstruct, but is so subtle that a casual viewer may not notice it, forcing the viewer to dig deeper into this chasm of secrets that you just can't help but jump into.